let's look back on New Zealand's victory today in Abu Dhabi. That's knocked England out of the T20 World Cup. It was a good game of cricket. It really was. There's no denying any of that. And our look back can be downloaded as a podcast shortly. bbc.co.uk/cricket soon enough. So England are out of the World T20. They were knocked out by New Zealand, fairly and squarely, by 5 wickets, and with an over to spare to put into bat, which always gives that slight disadvantage, having to field with a dewy ball. Although, to be fair, I haven't heard anyone yet claim that was a particular issue this evening in Abu Dhabi. England made 166 for 4. First man out was Johnny Bairstow, who was elevated to opening the batting in Jason Roy's absence, and he was caught by Williamson off Milne for 13. That was 37 for 1 in the 6th over. Then Jos Butler, the man in form, right up there, well, second actually in terms of the tournament top scorer at the moment. He was LBW playing a reverse sweep to the wrist spinner Sodhi for 29 off 24 balls. That was 53 for 2 in the 9th over. Milan gave a chance to the keeper on 10, but made a nice 41 from 30 before he was caught by Conway off Southey, who bowled very well for New Zealand. That was 116 for 3 in the 16th over. Livingston came out, tried to hit the ball all over the place, connected with 1 or 2, made 17. He was caught on the boundary off Neesham, but it was the innings of Owen really that held it all together. 51 not out from 37 balls. He came in at number 4 and played a very carefully controlled innings. Morgan was 4 not out at the end. Was 166 enough? Of course, that was the question. Southey 1 for 24 from his 4. Bolt no wicket for 40 was quite expensive. Adam Milne bowled with some pace. 1 for 31 from 4. Sodhi 1 for 32 from his 4 overs. Santner bowled 1, Neesham 2, and Phillips had an interesting day in the field, injuring himself in various places. Bowled 1 over for 11. So 167 to win, and actually England made a very good start to that, because New Zealand were 13 for 2 with both Williamson and Guptill back in the shed. Both to Wokes as well, with Guptill caught by Moeen at mid-on for 4. That was 4 for 1 in the first over. That's the third ball, in fact. And then Williamson, a bit tied down, played a ramp shot. It wasn't a great selection of a shot. He tried to flick the ball over his shoulder, was taken by Rashid, running outside the circle at short fine leg for 5. So 13 for 2 in the third. You think, oh, OK, England looking promising here. But a very good stand, steady stand. It was a careful rebuilding sort of a stand, in certainly T20 terms anyway, between Conway and Mitchell. They put on 82 together before Conway was stumped by Butler off Livingston for 46. From 38 balls, he hit 5 fours and a 6. That was 95 for 3. In the 14th over, Phillips didn't last long. He was out for 2, caught by Billings off Livingston. 107 for 4, and England certainly then were clear favourites. But in came Jimmy Neesham, who struck 27 from 11 balls. They put on 40 from 17 balls, he and Mitchell. He was dropped. There was an incident on 13 where Livingston put his hand up and said, I should have gone for that. There was out on the boundary. 2 men out there and so on, all that sort of bit of a confusion. Well, neither of them went for it. Livingston put his hand up and owned responsibility. Neesham survived. He went on to score 27 from 11 balls. He was finally caught by Morgan on the edge of the circle in the offside of Rashid for 27. But Mitchell finished it off 72 not out from 47 balls. A fabulous innings. It wasn't the most fluent to start with, but my word, it was by the end. And he saw New Zealand home. He hit the last ball of the penultimate over for 4. He also hit 4 sixes, and that was what sealed the game. Chris Wokes 2 for 36, bowled very well to start with, expensive at the end. Jordan, I'm afraid, also got a bit of tap. This is so difficult, but he did. He got some stick at the end. 3 overs for 31. Adil Rashid 1 for 39. Mark Wood 4 overs for 34. And the standout, you got to say it again, was Liam Livingston. 4 overs, 2 for 22. He bowled the 16th over with the pressure really on. He conceded 2 runs and a wide and took a wicket with the pressure really on. So we're going to hear more of Liam Livingston with the ball, let alone the bat. I'm absolutely sure of that. But the bottom line, however, is that New Zealand have gained some revenge, certainly, for England knocking them out in the 2016 T20 semi-final, and of course for the infamous World Cup final in 2019. So I've got Phil Tufnell and Carlos Brathwaite with me. It's always an empty feeling when you lose a semi, isn't it?
Yes, we said earlier, don't we? You know, it's all right if you win it, but no, be very disappointed in that changing room. They'll be thinking about, how could we have done better? A bit of bowling. I think you mentioned earlier, Aggers, didn't you, about they were just off it with the ball, and I think that Tamal Milner's not being there as well was a huge loss for them. Had some of those injuries along the way as well, which just disrupts that sort of momentum of the side and what have you. So they'll be disappointed. But listen, hats off to New Zealand. I thought they played excellently. Had the advantage of the toss and then just finished it off and timed that run chase to perfection. Well done, New Zealand.
Isha's delivering. Thank you, Isha. I'll get my directions on here. Thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've sat and reflected on England beating New Zealand over the years, and in one day cricket too. I mean, these things, what goes around comes around, doesn't it? I mean, you had to kind of accept that in T20 cricket, a shortened format, and form counts for a bit, but it doesn't always count for everything.
Yeah, and what I love about these two teams is that they never really lay blame. You think about how New Zealand took the loss in the 2019 final, and not once publicly I can't remember them having a go at the rules and saying it's unfair and mourning. Better team won, congrats England, and they move on. And just hearing Marcus Trescott, it isn't a blame game, or it isn't the toss, and it isn't due. It is well played, New Zealand. We lick our wounds, we congratulate the boys, and I think that is the sort of mindset that you have to have as a leader, as a management group, as an administration, to cultivate a successful culture. Eventually you will win games, you will lose games, but if every time you lose a game you blame something else, you never really appreciate the good that you've done, and it's hard to replicate it. And then you also don't put good things in the atmosphere. But I just feel like though these two teams could be around for the next, they've been around for the last 5 years at the top, be it calm, fighting for trophies, and I think they could be around for a lot longer. There's a culture that if they continue to pass it down from generation to generation, could breed the Australia of the 2000s, the West Indies of the 1980s, and it shows in defeat the graciousness in which they play the game, and I admire off the field the way they carry themselves, whether they win or whether they lose.
Yeah, and that comes from the two captains, a couple of great fellas. And it just never goes. It always amazes me that in this T20 game, you're just never out of it. You're never in it, and you're never out of it.
No.
You know what I mean? You're never sitting on the boundary going, oh well, we've got this nailed up. 13 for 2, wasn't it? Off of 4 or 5 overs, England have bowled it. But they kept so calm, and I think that does it. Sides play in the image. They say it in football of their captain a little bit, don't they? Well, it's a manager in football, but these two sides, they just kept ice cool. And as you say, New Zealand just managed to get over the line. And
it must be terrifying in T20 cricket as a captain, Carlos, when the momentum starts to go, because how do you get it back? I mean, how in Neesham there? What do you do? Yeah,
that's why you need good deputies. And you saw when Neesham was going, you saw Moeen Ali and Morgan come to Jordan. Sometimes you say nothing. Sometimes you just go, what are you having for dinner?
That's helpful.
Bring a nice little laugh. You only got to worry about a man swinging the bat at 1,000 miles an hour and connecting and trying to hit you for 36 off your 6 balls. But sometimes you just need to take your mind away. Just calm down, relax, concentrate on your breathing. You're good enough. You've done it before. You've done it in high pressure situations. Just run in and execute. And it doesn't always work. Jordan still went for 20 odd off the over. But you then started to think, that could easily be a 28 run over, a 27 run over. He's only gone for 20. So in another situation, actually saving those 7 runs by being a little bit more calm could have won them the game. It didn't happen today. Then you hear a lot of sports persons talk about the process. That's what you think about the process. Because in high pressure situations, the ball going all over the place. Yeah. Don't tell me about bowling a wide Yorker. I'm fuming that Livingston didn't catch that ball before. That you nailed down your process. What is my process? How do I give myself the best chance of being successful? My process is X, Y, Z. You run it by the captain. Captain okays it. Your senior man gives you the backing of the team. Boom, you run away. And when you deliver that ball, you want to execute. If you do or you don't, you're clear that you had a solid plan. You know to move to the next ball. And I think that's the hallmark of good teams.
Yeah.
Good,
that's all you could do. I suppose that's all you could do. That's all you could do. Yeah. And we're talking about Jimmy Neesham, who was that lovely little cameo, but Daryl Mitchell up the top.
Yes.
He sort of scratched around early, looked like he was going to get out and what have you, 1s and 2s, and then all of a sudden, he caught up his balls and runs, and 72 off 45. What a knock that was, from the start.
Haven't heard yet who the man of the match is, but I suspect it's going to be him.
No, it was him.
Unless it goes to Neesham, who did. I mean, Neesham turned the thing around a bit. Anyway, first of all, we'll hear from the captains who are with Mike Atherton.
Kane Williamson, congratulations. A hug with Owen there. A clear amount of great respect between your teams.
Yeah, obviously played each other on a number of occasions. Most players have played together in various tournaments, so knew it was going to be a great game of cricket, and it certainly proved to be the case. And it ebbed and flowed as they seem to often do against each other. But really chuffed the heart that was shown throughout that whole performance. I thought they had a pretty competitive total on the board at the halfway stage, but just by staying in there, and obviously an outstanding knock from Daryl Mitchell at the top, but staying there, building those little partnerships and just trying to cash in on some small moments, some small matchups, so it was really the difference. But a great game of cricket.
And Daryl Mitchell has been an experiment for you in this tournament, pushed to the top of the order. I don't think he'd done it before, and therefore it's paid off in unbelievable style.
Yeah, not an experiment in terms of his character, and that's definitely something that stood out today, and it's something that's stood out on pretty much every game that he's come and played for us. And an incredible knock. Yep, he hasn't done it a lot at the top of the order, but there's a real quality there, and he's come in and batted beautifully in a high-pressured situation.
And I know you're not the giving up type, but for a long time in that innings, the second half of the game, did you feel you were behind the 8 ball and England were more in control than yourselves?
I suppose we were a little bit, but T20 cricket, it's a game of small margins, and we've seen that throughout this whole tournament. Depending on the surface, depending on perhaps a short side, all these little things that come into play can be match defining. And I guess all teams are trying to maximise those opportunities, and coming into that sort of middle to death stage with the bat, we did have wickets in hand, which was really important. We were able to capitalise on it.
Talked about Daryl Mitchell, should mention Jimmy Neesham really, and I don't particularly want to refer back to what happened at Lord's 2019, but he was there at the Super Over, and therefore to see him have his moment here tonight, fantastic for him.
Yeah, he came out and hit the ball hard, and that's what he does. And it was a really, really valuable knock for us, obviously, to get the game, change the momentum of the game really. And there was some real clever, strong hitting at the back end, which was, I guess, ultimately the deciding factor. But it is a game of really, really small pieces, and you're always trying to win those little moments. And both teams perhaps had their share, but it was really nice to be there at the end. And a fantastic knock from Daryl, and controlled the innings, and really stood up and hit some big shots when it counted.
You've got a few days off now before the final. Any preferences over your opponents? Will you watch that game tomorrow?
Yeah, guys have been watching most of the games, so I'm sure we'll be following that match. It'll be a fantastic match. The tournaments, we all knew it would be highly competitive, and it's certainly proven to be the case. And this is a very strong English side. They're always strong, we're really pleased with our efforts today. But we know we have another challenge coming up, and we'll change our focus after tonight. Many congratulations to you and your outstanding team. Thank you. England's captain Owen Morgan is alongside me. Owen, it's another pulsating game that these two teams have provided. I suspect little consolation for you right now.
Yeah, very little. Coming into the game, we knew both sides were very, I suppose, close in skill. Both play a great brand of cricket. Full credit to Kane and his team. They outplayed us today. Fortunately, in a tight game, we've come off the wrong end of the stick. I can't fault anything that we've done tonight. We've fought unbelievably hard throughout this tournament, and I've actually thought we've represented ourselves really well. Tonight we've continued to do the same thing, but we've come up short. That can happen in cricket, but I'm extremely proud of the guys, the way they've given absolutely everything throughout this tournament.
It's very hard in the moments after a defeat like that to process things in your mind, but as you look back at it, where are the key moments in that game, do you think?
It's probably hard to identify at the moment. I thought we were right in the game, right from our innings right through until probably the 17th over, 18th over. Probably key moment at the end. They built right up until they had to push the button, and then they came good. So their game plan came off. I thought we held them at bay and had them exactly where we wanted them up until that point. So if you can do that you give yourself the best chance of winning, but unfortunately we didn't.
So you at the halfway mark, pretty happy with the 166. It looked a sluggish and two-pace pitch.
Yeah, it was. I think, we're a six-hitting side and we like hitting sixes and we struggle to hit sixes. I think that's a pretty good indication of a wicket. Potentially a bit too paced, offered a little bit for the spinners. But again, we hung in there. We changed our game plan. We adapted to conditions and posted probably around a par score. So we felt right in the game at the halfway stage. I think given the start that we had, taking early wickets, it couldn't have been any better.
Yeah, and you mentioned you're a six-hitting side. You found it hard to hit sixes. Great credit, therefore, to Jimmy Neesham, because that seemed to be when the tide started to turn against you.
Yeah, I mean, to have an ability to come out and hit sixes from ball one like that is something that not a lot of people have. So full credit to him. He sort of swayed the game in the Black Caps' favour. So yeah, full credit to him.
Another World T20 in a year's time. We can expect you there in the nucleus of this team to have another crack.
Yeah, I hope so. I think I'm still offering enough within the side. I absolutely love playing cricket at the moment for that the changing room. The guys give absolutely everything. They're always looking to get better. They're at the forefront of change, both on and off the field. We've a lot of things to be proud about, not just on the field. So I'm incredibly proud to be the leader.
We've enjoyed watching you play. Well done.
Thanks, Michael.
That's Owen Morgan with Mike Atherton. A couple of things to pick up from that. It's interesting about the pitch. I think we were talking about that when England were batting and dew comes down, and I think the ball probably did slip on a bit easier for the big hitters. You think that's a fair comment, Carlos? It was a bit sluggish, wasn't it, when England were batting? Certainly, we talked about it didn't sound right in the headphones and a bit clunky.
Yeah, ever so slight. You just felt as though dew would have helped the team batting second just a bit. But you're just wondering about missing Tamal Mills.
Oh.
Because New Zealand would have definitely had to play differently in the lead up to those last 5 overs, knowing that Mills got 2 in the hat, Jordan got 2 in the hat. But they kind of made England force the play, so Livingston had to bowl 4. Rashid probably had to bowl at a time when Owen Morgan wouldn't have wanted him to, because they had to shunt Wood into the middle of the inning. So you're just thinking tactically how much of a miss Tamal Mills was. I mean, all the bowlers tried to level best, but you're just wondering if it would have gone slightly different had Mills and Jordan been able to finish at the death, and it would allow the middle phase then to be structured a lot differently.
No, spot on. I think you are right as well. I think it just slid onto the bat a little bit nicer. But listening to Owen Morgan there, felt that they were right in the game right until the 17th over, and then they pushed the button. And it drops one way or the other, doesn't it, really? And that's what the game is all about. And it dropped New Zealand's way this time.
I think the other thing to mention of that interview is Morgan sounding like he's going to carry on. If you bear in mind, he went into this tournament talking about, well, yeah, I might have to drop myself because I'm not in very good form. And now he looks to be pushing ahead, because it is only a year until the next one, of course, because we're sort of catching up with the COVIDs and cancellations and so on. So
still there for me.
Yeah,
still there for me. As you say, it just dropped New Zealand's way in those last 2 or 3 overs, really. I mean, I think he's got the respect of the guys. Carlos was there talking about a culture that he's sort of, got going in that dressing room, that people want to work for him and they can see a light at the end of the tunnel and winning things and what have you. So for me, he needs to get a few runs. Yeah, let's be fair, but I think his captaincy still keeps
quite hard,
him
though.
there.
Where does he score his runs? I mean, where if you're a T20 player, which he is now exclusively, basically, what cricket are you playing? Where are you? How do you know if you're in form? It's not easy, is it?
Yeah, it's difficult. I found it quite difficult after I stopped playing red ball cricket to actually spend quality time in the middle. And you know what? I played some second 11 cricket this summer before I played in the Blast, and that did me a hell of a lot.
So that's interesting. Yeah.
So if Morgan, I mean, I don't think he has that big of an ego, but he probably don't want to be rocking up as England captain playing in the seconds for some 19-year-old to get up some bragging rights. But that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Some 4-day.
Just
second 11, 50 over, second 11, T20, second 11. Yeah. You just need to be batting, and you lose a bit of batsmanship when you get into and he's dropped himself down the yard. He came into there with 3 balls to bat. If you find yourself coming in 2 overs, 3 overs to bat, you can't really build innings. So when you go into a position where you're batting in 10th over, you don't know if to block, how to rotate, when to pull the trigger. So just having a stint at number 3 or number 4 in some second 11 cricket, take it seriously, play some shots, time the ball well, try to go through the gears in the innings again. Something like that can help.
No doubt who pulled the trigger today, Daryl Mitchell. 72 not out from 47 balls, hit 4 4s and 4 6s. He effectively steered New Zealand home, and quite rightly is man of the match.
Yeah, it's obviously a bit of a whirlwind there. Yeah, can't really remember what was going on for about the last half, but it was nice to get the job done and move on to the big dance.
It looked a real struggle for a while, a two-paced, sluggish pitch, and it was really difficult to find your timing for a long time in the innings.
Yeah, it was quite challenging, especially at the start there with the new ball. It was quite two-paced, and I thought Devon Conway, the way he batted through the middle there and helped us set up a platform to be able to sort of launch at the end, and then the way Neesham came in and struck it as clean as he did, it really helped us.
So was it just a case of hanging in there, not panicking and hoping things would come?
Yeah, I think, T20 is a game of momentum, and we tried to hang in there as long as we could, and we knew that 1 or 2 big overs would bring us back into the game, and luckily enough, we got a few out of the middle and got the job done.
And you mentioned Jimmy Neesham there. Was that the point at which you felt things starting to turn for you?
Yeah, well, we knew we needed 1 or 2 big overs, definitely, and I think the way he struck the ball from pretty much ball 1 was amazing, and it helped us get that momentum and put England under pressure, and we're lucky enough to get it over the rope.
The cameras have been panning in on your old fella here tonight. He's here watching, so it must be very proud for you and the family.
Yeah, I guess obviously with what's going on in the world at the moment, to be able to travel halfway around and for him to be here is pretty cool.
Many congratulations, a fantastic innings.
Thank you, thanks Evan.
Certainly was, man of the match. Daryl Mitchell, 72 from 47 balls, and he hit 4 6s. We'll get Andy Zoltzman's statistical overview in a second. First of all, Tuffers, let's have a quick look tomorrow. Australia, Pakistan, Dubai.
Yep.
Any thoughts in particular, or do you literally start with a blank sheet of paper and everyone's level and,
No, I think this leaves it open for Pakistan. So, we've seen that New Zealand are a fine side, nice, calm and composed side. I think that Pakistan will beat Australia, but who knows? And then it's going to be a wonderful final. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, Carlos, what have you been thinking so far? Where are you going tomorrow? Can Pakistan keep it together? Can they rein it all in? Can they keep that composure?
Based on form, you got to give Pakistan, but based on history, Pakistan have not had that Pakistan game yet. So I just hope for their sake it is not tomorrow.
Yeah.
But just to go against Tuffers, I'll go Australia.
Oh, okay. Love it. Love it.
Find out tomorrow. We shall be here to a good, clean game, please, chaps, tomorrow. We'll see how it pans out. Thanks to you two, Carlos and Tuffers. Andy Zoltz, anything that's caught your eye down there?
Well, it was a spectacular game of cricket, and particularly those death overs of New Zealand's chase. They made 60 from 24 balls. Now, they'd never won a T20 game when needing 60 in the last 5. England had never conceded 60 in the last 5 to lose a T20 game. The most they conceded in the death overs previously was that final when Carlos hit those 4 unforgettable 6s. That was 57 in the last 5 overs West Indies scored on that day. A great day for Jimmy Neesham, a kind of a crucial end. He might not leap off the scorecard, but that 27 off 11. The World Cup final, he sent out a couple of tweets that got a lot of social media traction at the time in the aftermath of New Zealand's defeat. He said, kids, don't take up sport. Take up baking or something, die at 60, fat and happy. And then he said, hopefully there's a day or two over the next decade when I don't think about that last half hour. So, well, hopefully today has at least given him that day when he can lay aside those memories. He's a very entertaining character and one of the good guys of cricket. Daryl Mitchell had never opened in any format before this tournament and has ended up anchoring New Zealand to victory in a semi-final. And they had been a team that just lost semi-finals. They lost their first 7 World Cup semi-finals in one-day cricket and T20 cricket in the men's game. They've now won 3 of the last 4 to get into their first T20 final. And it's the first time England have lost a World Cup semi-final in men's cricket in either one-day cricket or T20 cricket since 1983. They'd won their last when they lost to India in Manchester in their home World Cup. They'd won their previous 5 semi-finals. Their big problem was getting as far as the semi-final, or in the 50-over World Cup, even as far as a quarter-final sometimes. And we talked a lot about chasing in this tournament. Since the start of the Super 12s, there'd been 11 chases of over 160. Only one had been successful before today, so to do that in a semi-final was quite brilliant by New Zealand. picking up on what you were saying about England missing Tamal Mills in the death overs, looking at the records of England's seamers in the death overs in T20 cricket over the last 5 years, Mills has gone at 7.4 and over in the death overs. That's the last 5 overs of the bowling innings. Wokes has gone at 11.2, Jordan 9.5 and Wood 10.8. Now clearly there's sort of context to that, and Wood and Wokes actually haven't played a great deal of T20 cricket, but I think England really did miss the left arm pace and craft of Tamal Mills.